Today I'll be discussing what I think makes a coaster good and what makes a coaster bad, and if you stick around till the end, I'll also predict what would be the best coaster in the world based on my preferences.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 8.
Hey guys, and welcome to 808 Coaster Life. If you're new to this channel and you love roller coasters and other theme park related stuff, please consider subscribing for quality coaster entertainment every 1 to 2 weeks. Please note that I've only ridden 20 coasters, so my preferences will change as I ride more coasters. Everyone has their own preferences. I'm simply telling you mine. These are ordered from least important to most important. Let's get into it. Number 1, theming or scenery. This is what turns Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and Space Mountain into fun rides instead of meh rides. It sets the ride's mood. With theming out of the way, I focus more on the ride itself, so if the ride itself isn't good, I won't like it that much. But that being said, theming won't make or break a ride for me, it's more like a nice to have feature. I'm able to look past theming and focus on the pros of the ride itself. Number 2, uniqueness. I like rides that are unique in a good way. It makes a ride more memorable, and it's hard to set expectations for them. The most unique roller coaster I've ridden is technically Ghost Rider because it's the only wooden coaster I've ridden to date. I have difficulty setting expectations for X2, the Voyage, the SNS Axis, Orion, and I-305 because they're very different from anything else I've ridden, so I have no idea what to expect. If a ride isn't very original, I'm not gonna bash it. A ride doesn't need to be original in order to be good. But again, originality makes a ride more memorable. Number 3, smoothness. This topic has been pretty complicated recently. It used to be simple. Smooth rides are good, rough rides are bad. But over the past few years, people, including me, argue that a ride's roughness sometimes adds to the experience. So I'll say this, I like the smoothness of a roller coaster if it benefits the ride. Ghost Rider's wooden coaster smoothness makes the ride better, while Incredicoaster's rattle on its vertical loop hinders the ride and distracts from the overall experience. I also don't like rides with bad track profiling, but that opinion may change as I ride more coasters. Number 4, length. I love long rides. It's kind of a no-brainer. Everyone loves long rides. I don't ride roller coasters very often, so when I do, I want to enjoy it for as long as possible. It's one of the main reasons why Ghost Rider is my number 1 coaster. If a ride is pretty short, it's kinda unsatisfying. Some rides feel longer or shorter based on other factors. Of course, I won't like a terrible roller coaster that conveniently lasts for over 2 minutes, but I would probably be satisfied if a coaster is short but also very intense. But we'll get to these other factors a little later. But normally, I love long rides. Number 5, a good drop or launch. Here's what I think makes a drop and a launch good. For a drop, the airtime has to at least be decently strong, it has to be sustained, and it should be at a pretty steep angle. My favorite drop I've experienced is Hang Time's drop, but I know there are better drops out there. A launch is good for me if there's at least a decent amount of punch, but the length of the launch shouldn't be sacrificed for the launch. LSM launches are generally very sustained, but not the most forceful, while SNS Air launches are the most forceful launches on the market, but those launches are very short. The happy medium is the Intamin hydraulic launch. My favorite launch I've ridden is Accelerator's hydraulic launch, which blows me away every time I ride it. Most roller coasters either have a big drop or launch. Typically, a good drop or launch is the most memorable part of a ride for me. Number 6, speed. Or should I say, a good sensation of speed, because I don't judge a ride based on how fast it goes. Ghost Rider going through its own wooden structure makes it feel much faster than 56 miles per hour. Space Mountain feels faster and more intense because it's dark for most of the ride. I like speed. It's one of the main reasons why I think Millennium Force is underrated. Speed just makes a coaster feel more fun. I'm not gonna hate on a coaster for not feeling fast, but if it has a good sensation of speed, I would really enjoy it. There's really not much else to say about this. Number 7, intensity. This is probably the thing most hardcore coaster fans look for in a coaster. A coaster is intense if it's filled with strong forces, either vertical, lateral, or linear. Although I do like intensity, it isn't what makes or breaks a coaster for me. I'm not too big of a fan of coasters that feature sustained positive Gs. I've experienced multiple grayouts on roller coasters, and I don't find that too fun, although it is preventable. I'm also not sure what to think of laterals, but it's growing on me. Don't get me wrong, intensity is great for a roller coaster, and I would take that over a coaster that's too forceless and boring. But there are just a few things I prefer in a roller coaster. Number 8, airtime. This is my favorite sensation on a roller coaster. It's exciting and exhilarating. Although all types of airtime are amazing, I prefer ejector airtime, which is nothing new. But even better are rides that have a variety of airtime. Steel Vengeance is a great example of a ride that has airtime variety. Some hills provide some nice floater airtime, while other hills have insane ejector airtime. There isn't a lot of coasters out there that do this, but when they do, it makes a ride more exciting. Number 9. Elements that exceed expectations. Generally, if a ride exceeds my expectations, it's ranked higher than rides that disappoint me. Especially when it comes to elements, if a ride's element exceeds my expectations, that itself could make the ride move up in my rankings. And besides, who doesn't love getting blown away by a ride? Number 10, the biggest thing that makes or breaks a ride for me is simply its enjoyability. There is a decent margin between rides I enjoyed riding versus rides I didn't enjoy riding. Rides can be enjoyable based off of multiple factors such as rider comfort and intensity. And most importantly, I like rides that are fun. That's really the whole point of riding roller coasters. I know every coaster fan has different preferences, so let me know down in the comments what are your preferences when riding a roller coaster. With that out of the way, let's get to the bonus. Let me preface this by saying that there is no perfect coaster. Even what seems like a perfect coaster still has flaws, but there are a few that are very close to being perfect. They include Steel Vengeance, Zadra, Iron Gwazi, Taiga, DC Rivals, The Voyage, the Schwerdes Kernon, and Fury 325. But the coaster I'm predicting to be the best coaster based on my preferences is Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure. I don't think the double spine will make the coaster more intense, but I still think Velocicoaster will be very intense. There will be some amazing elements on this ride such as the zero-G stall, wave turn, outer bank, and heartline roll over the water. This ride doesn't have a lot of airtime moments, but they do have variety. Considering Intamin's track record of launches, I can tell this ride's second launch will be incredible, and while it isn't the fastest, it'll probably have a great sensation of speed. But what this coaster has over the others is theming. Universal is adding some heavy theming to this ride. Of course, it's probably not Fantasialand level of detail, but this ride will have a good theme and storyline to it. The overall experience of Velocicoaster will exceed the other coasters I mentioned. While it probably doesn't have the best layout in the world, and the element selections could have been improved a little bit, it is probably the most well-rounded coaster in the world, and that's why I think it could be the best coaster in the world once it opens. Of course, I probably shouldn't judge a ride before it's even open yet, but still, I'm very excited for this ride's opening in hopefully summer of 2021. That's going to be it for this video, but I would love to know, what do you guys like in a coaster? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by leaving a like on this video. And if you're new to this channel and you love roller coasters and other theme park related stuff, please consider subscribing for quality coaster entertainment every 1 to 2 weeks. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.